eliminate the promotional mix. So that's taking all the previous lessons, put them together, putting together the market segmentation that we spent a couple of lessons on, and hopefully showing you and demonstrating to you now how it all makes sense. As you can see, the learning intention for this lesson is so you know what the promotional mix is. You've covered each of the promotional methods, but this is how you put them all together and work out what you're doing as a company. And then you're going to input also the segmenting the market as well, so you mix that in too. And then we're going to try and put some examples together of the best fit promotional methods and segments, and mix it all together and see what happens. Well, if that wasn't clear and you've got a face like Stuart, then just have a look at the little learning journey squares on the right hand side. We're looking at the promotional mix, the one with the half red line around it. We're going to take the methods, which are the 5 underlined boxes, and then we're going to choose which of those methods, a combination of those methods, by using a combination of the 4 market segmentation methods, which are the ones with ticks. This is called the promotional mix. So the best way to think of it is put it all in a pot, give it a stir, make sure you've got the right methods and decisions, and you should come out with the right kind of cake. Nah, cake's not a good one, but you know what I mean. As you know, Stuart's role is to clarify your tasks for you. So in this lesson there are 3. You need to match the segmentation headings to the explanations. Then you've got another match, task 2, match the promotional icons to the examples of each. And then on number 3, you are creating your own promotional campaign. What is the promotional mix then? Actually, it's the last thing you need to consider when you're designing your communication of products or services or brand message to your new or existing customers. As you can see in the mind map above, these are the methods of promotional activity, or the medium for a promotional campaign. Well then, if you're having a Stuart moment and you're going, well, if these are the last things I need to consider, why is there a cake? Why am I being told this first? So the cake is there for you to see that it is like mixing ingredients, but in terms of a cake, the promotional mix is some of the last ingredients. The promotional methods, are some of the last ingredients to go into the mix. So let's go through this like a good cake recipe, step by step. The first thing to consider, so in the blue corner, step 1, why or what do you want to communicate? So as Carl here, any form of promotion has the aim of communicating one of 2 things: the features and benefits of an enterprise, or 2, the products offered by an enterprise. So make a decision. There we go. You don't have to write it down, just make a decision which one you're going to think of as we go through this lesson. When you know what you're going to communicate, your next decision is who to communicate with. Dave says hi, he just wants you to notice him. He's not going to tell you why just yet. Step 2, in the blue corner, who do you want to talk to? Your next decision is who you're talking with. You've decided what you're going to be saying, so this is when market segmentation comes into its own. You now decide who you're going to communicate with. Your task is to actually now move the titles over there by King Bob and move them so that they are describing the correct market segmentation method. So if you click on the icon or listen to the icons, they're all playing in turn describing what they are, and then your job is to make sure you've got a title to what these methods are. This method divides the market based by consumer personality traits, their values, their attitudes, their interests, and their lifestyles. This method segments the market by area, such as cities, counties, regions, countries, and international regions. It can also break a market down into rural, suburban, and urban areas. This method divides the market into smaller categories based on factors such as age, gender, social class, ethnicity, and income. This method divides the market where customers share a reaction to a product based on how often they use it, how loyal they are to the product, and whether they share benefits or features of the product. Here's King Bob with an example of how it's done. You grab the title and you drag it to where you think it is. Now, he's not labelled it properly, he's going to put it in between two, so you've got to work out that psychographic is one of those two market segmentation methods. Dave's back again, not for the reason you need to find out, but he's going to be helpful right now and give a little bit of information. How many of you thought about B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to customers? I bet that 10p that you went for B2C, business to customers straight away. So let's just pause a second. B2B, a business to business, that could be a business, say, who makes the screws and screwdrivers. So B&Q would need to get their stock from somewhere, so their supplier is a business to business. Now that kind of profiling, if we pause a bit, it's actually very much using behavioural, so I'll give you that one, because we're talking about loyalty, we're talking about benefits and features of the product, and that's probably a key one even from a supplier between businesses. Next is deciding your promotional mix. So let's just go over the steps again. Step 1, in the blue corner, you've completed what you're communicating. Step 2, in a slightly less blue corner, you've now completed the step who you're communicating with. That's the segmentation method. And now you're on step 3, how you're going to communicate, as Kevin is about to discuss with you. Right, Kevin's here to talk to you about the promotional methods. These are the elements of the promotional mix. You've got direct marketing, then public relations, PR, then advertising, which includes TV, radio, billboards, internet, web and smartphones, then sales promotion, and lastly personal selling. Dave's still not going to tell you what's going on, but he's glad you're noticing him. Your job is to match the icon to the methods, to the examples of each type of promotional activity. So you grab the icon from the bottom and you move it next to all the bullet points which you think is actually the promotional method it's talking about. Stuart's back. Stuart's going to show you an example of what Carl is asking for. But it's up to you if you can rely on Stuart to give you the right answer. Your task from Carl is to build your first promotional campaign. You want to tell your target market about the features on the new OAP exclusive club to see vintage plays at the Little Theatre. You might recognise it. You've got step 1, the product, and you're talking about the features. So step 2 is for you to create a profile for your target customer using one or more of the 4 segmentation methods. The icons are above. Write your answer in the space below. Step 3. Decide on your promotional methods. To make your decisions though, you'll need to answer Dave's questions. Before you complete this task, Dave wants you to think about how much will it cost to run that particular promotional method. So that's what a business has to think about. Then second, will the target market actually see it? Do they go and use that particular type of media or take notice of it? And the last thing you've got to think about, as you are the company, is it suitable? Does your product suit the type of promotional activity that you're using? Back to Carl now. So you've gone through, you know what the product is, and you know you're talking about features. Step 2, you've got your profile, which you really need to do in order to complete step 3. Step 3, you're going to write your answer in the blue box on the left. Now what you need to do, you've got to consider each icon. So if we look first, say, at advertising, then with advertising you've got to consider how much does it cost. If you're going to do TV and billboard, then they're probably the most expensive. You've got radio, where you can do just local radio. You can do some website advertising, and you've got your smartphones in terms of messaging anything on mobile phones. So which one of those do you want? Just because you choose advertising doesn't mean you choose all of it. Then you've got direct marketing, which obviously that involves the direct mail packs, the ones through the door, as you can see in the picture, and it also involves the electronic email information. Next, it's PR. Considering that theatre might even be at risk of closing, then that would be a really good way to keep it going. You've obviously got some kind of sales promotion because you've got an exclusive loyalty card, or you've got the last one, personal selling. So look back at the last slide, at the last images, and all the breakdown of each of the promotional methods. Decide which you're going to do, and once you've made your decision, next to it, you don't need to write down the exact cost. You can talk about whether it's very expensive, reasonable, or quite cheap. You can talk about, and for question 2, you say, will the target market see it? And the answer is not just yes, it's how do you know the target market will see it? So that's about you matching task 2 to the profile of the customer and what they do, which is probably a lifestyle thing. There's a clue on the segmentation. So it's what their life involves, their behaviours. Oh no, there's another clue. And that will help you decide on what promotional method to use. And then you've got to think about what matches your product, which is that the vintage plays at a vintage theatre, with this particular customer. So what would really suit them? Kevin's here to actually spill the beans and tell you what all that nonsense with Dave is all about. Step 1, you've done what you're communicating. Step 2, you're done who you're communicating with. You use your segmentation methods. Step 3, how you're communicating. You've built your promotional mix. You have built your campaign. Yes, that took a while to build up that joke. No doubt you're looking as relieved as Stuart. You've got to the end of this lesson. Yes, there were 3 tasks. I'm trying to make the load a bit lighter as we get nearer and nearer the end of term. So this lesson was about bringing together all the earlier ones we've done, with 7 lessons on it so far. So this lesson 8 was about bringing it all together to make sure you know how to build, there's that nonsense joke again, build your promotional campaign. Well done on completing your promotional mix and selecting which of the 5 methods you wanted to use, using your segmentation as a way to help you make that decision. And there will be an assessment quiz, as you'd expect, going up online on Friday.